Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDoc.com and I'm back with the HTC Status from AT&T. The Facebook phone has made its way to the US and it's known as the Status. So if you remember, Aaron did the unboxing for this phone and I've been testing it out. I'm going to do a full review, tell you about the keyboard, the social networking features, most importantly the Facebook features, 3G web, all of that. So far I've been pretty impressed with the phone. The keyboard has been excellent. And so I'll go into more detail about that in the video review. Before we get on to that, I have to say especially to our friends at Best Buy Mobile, they sent us free phones that we can add to our One Pop Bandit game, which is a game where you guys can win free phones. One of the great things about Best Buy Mobile is that you go in there and they help you set up everything, your email, your contacts, download some apps. You know, you guys may not need that feature, but you may know somebody that's buying a new phone and maybe they're not entirely tech savvy, so it'd be helpful for them. So thank you Best Buy Mobile for being so awesome. Thank you guys for watching this video. It's the HTC Status from AT&T. I'm Sydney from PhoneDoc.com. Let's go check it out. So this is the HTC Status, one of two much ballyhooed so-called Facebook phones. This is the one that was originally known as the Cha-Cha, at least overseas. And one of the reasons why it was changed to Status because there were some copyright problems with the name Cha-Cha. And so it's now known as a Status on AT&T. The funny thing is that the phone actually still identifies itself as a Cha-Cha in certain settings, or when an app needs the phone to identify itself, it still calls itself a Cha-Cha. So kind of interesting there, but it is the HTC Status, Android 2.3 with HTC Sense. Now, this interesting form factor, and then being the Facebook phone, the main feature is this Facebook button. And, whenever I first heard about it, I thought it was kind of like a gimmick, like, oh, okay, there's a Facebook phone and it's a Facebook button. But really, is it practical? Yes, absolutely, because instead of using a widget, sliding over to that widget, or having an icon on your home screen, you can just push the button and it opens a window where you can post to your wall. I know that sounds extremely simple, but that's basically the point. It's supposed to be really simple. For people that use Facebook a lot, it's simple. You just push the button and post to your wall. I would like to have a feature like that for Twitter because I use Twitter more often than Facebook. I actually don't even use Facebook, so, but it's the Facebook phone, not the Twitter phone. So other than that, it's really pretty much standard HTC Sense stuff. Now, it's running Sense 2.1, but it's a modified version of Sense. If we go to the settings here, take a look at About Phone, Software Information. So you see it's running Android 2.3.3, and then 2.1 for Messenger. So it's kind of this modified version of Sense. You saw the lock screen where it looks like Sense 3.0, but it's actually not. It just, HTC just added that feature. So a couple of things that have been modified is really just aspects of the UI that they needed to change in order to make it fit onto the smaller screen. Excuse me. For example, you can see there's no dock at the bottom. You have the app drawer shortcut and then a personalization shortcut. One sort of small annoying thing is that the app drawer shortcut is only on this main home screen. So if you happen to be, all the way over here, then you have to scroll all the way back. And I don't know why it's not responding. And this isn't actually a carousel, so I can't go back this way. So if I'm on my last page, I can't just swipe back to go back to the beginning. I have to swipe all the way back in order to open the app drawer. So one minor thing, but other than that, HTC did an excellent job of really customizing Sense to make it work on the smaller screen. There's been other phones, with this form factor, the Charm, the Motorola Charm on T-Mobile, where it's kind of just Android scrunched onto a tiny screen, but HTC really put the time and the effort into making Sense work on a small screen and customizing it however they needed to. So in the app drawer here, you still scroll down, but the sliders are on the right side. And that's a custom idea throughout the whole UI. So if I go to Mail, you can see the sliders are on the right side. So you know, it just makes it easier for the small screen, but it doesn't seem like they just kind of threw some stuff together. It's still very well thought out. I think HTC did a great job of really making Android work well on a small screen. So if that's one of your, you know, worries, don't worry about that. Now, I was talking more about this custom version of Sense, and you know, that with being a Facebook phone. So you have the Facebook button. Other than that, it's really just Sense. So you have all of these custom widgets that you can use, add items, that you can use for social networking, like the social clock. There's the Facebook chat widget, friend stream, you know, the posting widget, friend channel. So you have all these widgets for social networking, but these are really standard HTC Sense widgets. This isn't really anything special to the status itself. So, you know, for those features, you can get that with any HTC Android phone, but you know, it's nice. It also comes with a status. So I'll talk a little bit about the display. It's kind of a small display. It's a 2.6-inch display. It has a resolution of 480 by 320, and that's actually a pretty good resolution. You know, a lot of times with smaller phones, they kind of use it as an excuse to just give it a really low resolution, which, you know, 480 by 320 is still kind of low, but considering it's a small screen, you know, when you get pretty close to it, the text isn't really that pixelated. Graphics still look pretty good. This clock, you know, that graphic looks great. Pictures look pretty good. So, you know, again, I appreciate the fact that HTC, you know, didn't take a cheap shot here and just slap on some low resolution, but text still looks pretty good. Now, because it's a small display, there's a couple of things that work really well, like I mentioned, that HTC worked on. There's a couple of things that don't. There's a few apps that, let me see, I'll go to this game. So you'll see there's a few apps that when they open, it's going to want to go into portrait mode because technically the status display is in landscape mode. So a lot of apps that are portrait only, they'll automatically go into portrait mode, and you can't change that. You know, I can hold it like this all day and it won't change. The same is true mostly with games, but even other apps. If I go to the Quadrant Standard app, you can see it automatically goes to portrait mode and I can't change it. So, you know, that's kind of a hit and miss thing with which apps work and which ones don't. You know, if I go to the Flickster app and load it, this one will work in landscape mode. So, you know, kind of hit and miss. So far, I haven't really been able to find a trend of, you know, if there's a certain kind of apps that don't work. Just some of them are meant to be in portrait only. So that can get annoying because, you know, for example, if I go back and I want to play this game, it's, you know, this really small display, and it makes it either impossible or just not as enjoyable. Now, I'll show you the web browser. The web browser does work pretty well on the small display, being in landscape mode. So I'm going to use this stock browser just for the sake of tests, see what we get out of the box. So we'll stop that from loading, and we'll go to phonedog.com, and I'll also talk about the keyboard later on in the review. So if we go to phonedog.com and load it up, and 3G speeds have been pretty good right now. I'm actually on 3G, I'm not on Wi-Fi. The phone does support Wi-Fi, of course, but I'm on 3G. 3G speeds have been pretty good, and I'll show you my speed test results after we check out the web browser, but we'll just let it load up, phonedog.com. Now this phone ships with an 800 megahertz processor, so actually pretty decent. You're going to be doing a lot of zooming and moving around because, you know, with other phones with a larger display, you might be able to get away with kind of, you know, having it at this, you know, right here, but you're going to have to zoom in a little bit more, and then the smaller display means you're going to be moving around a lot. You know, again, not a big deal, at least for me. It wasn't really a problem. So it's still loading up, but you can see that the processor does pretty well. And I've done a few processor tests. You saw there on one of my home screens, I downloaded a couple of, you know, CPU test apps or benchmark apps. Quadrant Standard, the Quadrant Standard app for some reason is not working on this phone, so I'm not going to be able to give you a score for that. But you can see it does pretty well. And then, you know, we have Flash content loaded here. I did not mean to click on that. And then as you can see, it supports multiple windows. So we'll go back. So you kind of get a glimpse of how it looks. So overall, you know, web browsing has been good on the small display. Not really a problem. You know, like I said, a lot of zooming and moving around, but it wasn't too big of a problem. And then again, going back to the resolution, the text looks pretty good, not pixelated. You can see how clear it is. Even when you get up close, it's not rough around the edges like you would expect. So let me go to the speed test app, and right, it's in alphabetical order, Sydney, so all you have to do is go to S. Okay, this again is one of those apps that only runs in portrait mode, so we'll begin the test. And I've gotten pretty good speeds on this. There have been times where the speeds weren't that great, so looks like this may be, so this is going to be a decent test. Looks like we're going to get about, you know, 550, 600 kilobits per second upload. I've gotten, the first time I actually did a speed test on 3G, I got 1 megabit per second for downloads, which was, I was, you know, kind of blown away by that. That's pretty good speed. And then the upload speeds haven't been very impressive, but the download speeds have been great. So you see 616, you'll see a couple of my results. I deleted some of them, but we got 1.5 megs, 1.5 again, 485, and then for some reason the one I just did isn't showing up. And then you can see download speeds are 100. So the other tests, you know, that I did, that I've deleted, it was about the same. I got 1 meg down a couple of times, but then I also got, you know, 400 to 600, which is pretty decent for 3G speeds. And then it also supports Wi-Fi.